cast and filmmaker of Your Monster. Oh my gosh, this movie is such a delight. I didn't know quite what to expect. I think it's one of these things that when you go into it, it's like, wow, this is like a confection of like, it's in some ways a musical. It's like there's a Beauty and the Beast element. It's a rom-com. It's all these things. How did you come up with like this melange of all these different tones and ideas?
Well, I am Caroline's producing partner. The director is actually giving birth any moment. She might be now because she didn't answer my text, so we'll see. But so I'm her partner, so I was kind of like overseeing her process throughout. The truth is, if you want to know how, she's really brave. She just is like, I want to put all of this in it and I'm going to figure it out. And her core is always the heart and the guts of it and making sure that that stays within and then sprinkling in all of these other genre elements to make it. And the other thing is she always wants to make everything as fun as possible.
Tommy playing this beast, the monster, who's so lovable ultimately. How did you approach the character?
Well, I think a big piece of it was just kind of forgetting you were wearing the monster mask. I think if you lean into monster, we would have kind of gone off the rails. But I had great scene partners. I think a highlight of this movie was that everybody was just game, to play and have fun and kind of check their egos at the door. So I don't know. I'm just really grateful to Caroline to just echo what she said. Such a singular voice. And Caroline and I had worked together on a TV show a long, long time ago, and I ran into her at a yoga class. I do yoga once a decade. And she was like, would you be interested in doing this monster thing? It was a short at that time. So we spent a weekend making this short, and she just, I don't know, saw something in my sensibility and thought, if I slap a mask on that, maybe it'll I don't know, yield fruit.
Watching Caroline and Tommy work is very fun because Tommy will be like, do you think it's more like, and she's like, yeah, I think it's more like, and he's like, maybe like, okay, I got it. That's how they work together.
Yeah, got it, go, rolling.
Swishy.
Yeah.
And Melissa, I mean, you studied musical theater in college. I mean, to actually have, obviously you did In the Heights and have done musicals, but to actually have a film set in the world of musical theater is really unique.
Yeah.
How did that speak to you?
I mean, I actually have never done theater in the United States. Like, I went to school for theater, but I've never done it professionally. So it was kind of interesting to see that world. And both Meghann and Kayla have done it professionally in the United States. And so they were the ones that were telling us how the audition process is, how the rehearsal process is, and obviously heightened because no one.
Spoiler alert! It's all terrible.
It sucks. But it was also amazing to have an original musical written for the movie by the amazing Lazur brother composers, and to like be able to be the first people to sing this music, and it's so good and it's so fun and it's such a like. I remember because we shot this movie in 20 days, and the first 2 weeks we were at the house, so we shot all the like Laura and monster stuff, and that felt like a movie. Like, oh, this is a movie. And then we moved to the theater and into the streets in New York, and we did this like dark, thrillery, like still funny but like weird genre thing. And I was like, what movie are we making? This feels like a completely different film. And then to see how Caroline and our editor brilliantly like just put it all together and see the result of this like weird musical horror rom-comedy is very cool to see.
And such distinct personalities. I mean, Edmund, your character, how would you describe?
Distinct is a nice way to put it. Yeah. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
How would you describe him?
Oh man. Challenging. He's the bad guy in the movie. We can say it, but I had to approach him with, some empathy. I think he's someone who just really wants what he wants. He's a careerist, and he's willing to do anything to get that. And he has huge blind spots, and he thinks he's making work. He's a musical theater writer and director, and he thinks he's making work that's feminist and that matters and has these like deep impact, and he thinks he's basically speaking on behalf of women, but he's really missing the mark. So it's pretty cringe to watch, myself kind of.
He is a very
flounder.
he has a very elevated sense of himself.
That's right. Yes. He's very, very self-assured, wrongfully so, but yeah.
And Meghann, your character, comes into this world and doesn't really know what's happening, what exactly the dynamic has been, that Edmund's character, Melissa's character were together before. What do you think she's going through?
I think that she just desperately is trying to fit in, and I think that it's particularly devastating when she finds out like all the information that she didn't have and how it could have been perceived and how it kind of puts her on a back foot a bit. But I think ultimately her journey really is just wanting to make friends and feel like she belongs in a space that is very unfamiliar to her and probably really intimidating because of that. So yeah, I think that's really her sort of like driving force, is just wanting to be a part of the gang.
What was the
and failing miserably?
Yeah.
What was was there like a scene that you thought was like the most fun? Like this looks like an incredibly fun movie to have made.
So fun.
And that you did it so quickly. I mean, was there one thing in particular that really stood out?
I mean, I was trapped in the house for most of it, but we had a couple of days of just kind of those two-handed bantery scenes that got kind of improvisational. There's a scene where I interrupt her watching a movie, and we just messed around for a couple hours, and that was a delight.
Yeah, we laughed a lot.
Yeah.
There was also the movie where I'm thinking about going to the audition and you follow me in from the bathroom.
I love that one.
That we had so much fun. The fun thing about this movie that I've never experienced before in any other movie that I've made is hearing the crew and the producers in Producers Village all cracking up as we're acting, and that just it felt like theater in a lot of ways, because it felt like performance and everybody was in it. And that's rare, and we had so much fun.
The best one about the Chinese food movie scene is that Caroline and I were behind the couch with a little monitor being like, this is fun.
The food fight was really fun too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we had very little time to do it, so we just kind of had to roll a couple cameras and go nuts.
Yeah.
I love you mentioned the moment when you're watching the movie. It's such a specific choice too. It's royal wedding, Fred Astaire and Jane Powell. That was so unique, to have that particular film featured, and it really plays a central role. I mean, I love that. What was in particular, like, how Kayla, do you know how that particular film was chosen?
Well, Caroline wanted something that really her taste runs the gamut, and it usually exists before 1970. She was like, how can I contrast Monster watching sports and watching the slasher and pick the coziest possible movie with the coziest possible music? So that was really her intention with that choice, was like, how cozy can we go? And we went pretty cozy.
Yeah. So, Edmund, were there any particular were anything that you channeled in particular to play this character who's really kind of the true monster of the film?
Yeah. My background is in theater. I went to drama school and did some plays in New York, and I mean, it's no one specific, but I think that there's a certain kind of cringe, good intentions gone wrong, creative team member or actor type, if that makes any sense.
I want names.
I can't do that. I can't do that. Yeah. No, I think like we probably all know people who think that they're doing, really important, impactful, meaningful work and aren't aware of their own privilege and entitlement, and it just feels kind of false, but they don't know. They don't know any better.
That speech that Edmund does at the top of the read-through, the capital C cringe speech, I think almost every sentence is pulled from something that some dude has said. A love letter to women.
It's sort of a composite of actual quotes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So you're making a film like this that is a combination of so many different things, just when you're on set. I mean, there's so much to keep track of. There's so much to, figure out how to dial into the moment. How do you keep your focus for any of you, as Caroline's production partner, as an actor on set?
Well, I think Kayla had maybe the most unhinged job ever because she was in the movie and acting brilliantly, but also fully producing the entire time. So I was only on set for a few days, which was sad because I wanted to be there every day, but I just will never forget like her full costume, hair, makeup, like running up and down stairs, delivering other people's costumes to their dressing rooms, like being on the phone, running behind the monitor, and then like going and shooting a scene. And then watching the work that she did in the movie was like so incredible, but even more so knowing everything else that was going on in the background of it all.
Yeah.
I paid her to say that.
Gotta.
No, it's
Kayla was spinning.
You
off.
really do deserve a special shout out
It
for
can't
that.
be overstated how amazing Kayla is and the work she did.
The truth is, to kind of answer your question too, is like the reason I worked that hard is because of Caroline, and I just really, really believed in this story, and I wanted her to have every option under the sun to make this work, because it was a really risky big swing to say, okay, somebody gave us some money for an indie film. We're gonna go all the way. We're gonna do something that is so ambitious and way too big and just figure it out. And so our decision, I mean, oftentimes we would go into the bathroom, turn on the shower and be like, we've got this, let's go. But it was how can I work as hard as I can to give her as many options as she possibly has in editing so she can figure out how to crack this combination of things. And she did it. So that's pretty cool. She worked her tushy off.
And you're a particular fan of a certain software provider.
Oh yeah, baby.
Here we
I was
go.
going off about Dropbox.
I was like, you have to save this for the
I'm
interview.
a producer. Like, ask a producer, ask an assistant editor. They'll go off about Dropbox. But it is. I mean, I'm sorry not to be all like.
My computer dings all day because of how much you use Dropbox.
I'm always like,
You dropping files.
Attached here is a Dropbox link. I feel like, well, it's like the way I can send things. But okay, I'm gonna say something kind of mushy about Dropbox, and everyone can screw off here. In my Dropbox, my Your Monster Dropbox has different versions of Melissa singing different songs and pictures from the movie and little like different clips that we edited that we didn't end up going with, or scenes we cut. And it's a really special place for me with this movie. I get to go back and like look at what Caroline and I experienced in the making of it.
You would live in Dropbox.
No, I do live in
you
Dropbox.
could. Yeah.
Right now I'm on Dropbox. I have glasses on, you can't see them, and it's just dropbox.com.